Leaders at the COP28 summit faced a pivotal moment in deciding on fossil fuels. And after extended talks, a final agreement emerged, urging countries to transition away from fossil fuels. And this marked a historic moment, though concerns linger about certain loopholes in the resolution. Welcome. I am Esther Mokwariola. In response to concerns about noise pollution, some religious houses in Lagos were recently shut down by the environmental authorities. This workshop aims to educate stakeholders on the importance of conducting their activities and worship in a manner that doesn't disturb the environment and the surrounding community.
If a street has 5 churches, 3 mosques, and 1 traditional religious worship home, there is no way you're going to allow that nuisance continue for so long. So you have to enforce. So we have consistently enforced, and we're not going to stop enforcing. So we are calling on religious leaders to please try to soundproof your building. Even if you don't soundproof, you should reduce the number of speakers. If you have a church or a mosque with 15, 20 worshippers, you don't have any business with using microphones.
We advocate for self-regulation. So they themselves are able to control their activities and ensure that they are working within the stipulated limit.
Religious leaders emphasized the need for adherence to respect the rights of others by minimizing noise pollution.
We also want to urge everybody to also try to adopt technology, because today even our places of worship, you design in such a way that it is environmental friendly, it is noise friendly, but because people don't know, people are not even aware. So I think this particular stakeholder forum will be an eye-opener, to raise the awareness bar, and then I hope and also pray that people will not look at it from a negative perspective.
Make sure that they put their noise at a good point that will be okay for people living around them to hear. Yes, we cannot say they will not. I mean, their sound will not go out at all. But what we are saying is that it should not be so loud that it will affect others.
Simultaneously, the agency is extending its awareness campaign against noise pollution to include event centers and clubs, highlighting the irreversible damage to the ears caused by excessive noise. The UAE presented the new climate deal calling for a just and equitable shift from fossil fuels in energy systems. The agreement stresses the need to accelerate actions in this critical decade, with the ultimate aim of achieving net zero emissions by 2050.
We have confronted realities and we have set the world in the right direction. We have given it a robust action plan to keep 1.5 within reach. It is a plan that is led by the science. It is a balanced plan that tackles emissions, bridges the gap on adaptation, reimagines global finance, and delivers on loss and damage.
Additionally, the deal text urges an expedited phase-down of unabated coal power and sets ambitious targets, tripling global renewable energy capacity and doubling the average annual rate of energy efficiency improvements by 2030.
The agreement is only as good as its implementation. We are what we do, not what we say. We must take the steps necessary to turn this agreement into tangible actions. If we unite in action, we can have a profoundly positive effect on all our futures.
This agreement marks a significant step towards a more sustainable future.
Your Highness.
The conference started positively with the approval of a loss and damage fund. This fund aims to support communities affected by climate disasters.
We cannot save a burning planet via fire hose of fossil fuels. We must accelerate a just, equitable transition to renewables.
I have seen across the Commonwealth and beyond countless communities which are unable to withstand repeated shocks, whose lives and livelihoods are laid waste by climate change. Unless we rapidly repair and restore nature's unique economy based on harmony and balance, which is our ultimate sustainer, our own economy and survivability will be imperiled.
However, developed nations faced criticism for falling short in their financial commitments, not meeting the required support for vulnerable regions.
Only serious progress on finance can deliver frontline results. We've said we'll double adaptation finance. Now we have to deliver, including on the details, and set ourselves up to go much further.
COP28 assessed progress on the Paris Agreement, emphasizing the need for renewed climate plans. The Paris Agreement is deemed crucial for motivating countries to reduce emissions and work towards limiting global temperature rise. Over 100 countries endorsed increased reliance on renewables, aiming to reduce dependence on fossil fuels. However, financial challenges for developing nations pose a challenge to achieving renewable energy goals.
We see an inescapable call coming up from civil society, from global leaders around the world for a full, fast, fair, and funded phase-out of fossil fuels in these negotiations.
Controversies unfolded, including the appointment of Sultan Al-Jaber, accused of denying climate science, and OPEC's pressure against targeting fossil fuels.
I have said over and over that the phase down and the phase out of fossil fuel is inevitable. In fact, it is essential. And this transition is, in fact, essential. And it needs to be orderly, fair, just, and responsible.
After extensive negotiations, Azerbaijan was announced as the host of COP29 in November 2024. However, the decision has already faced criticism from activists due to concerns over the country's oil production and human rights record. In all, COP28 witnessed crucial decisions on fossil fuels, the establishment of a loss and damage fund, and discussions on Paris Agreement progress and global finance challenges. In the meantime, founder, Health of Mother Earth Foundation, Nimo Bassi, believes the new climate deal doesn't go far enough.
I agree with campaigners that the agreement is better than what we expected from the COP, the way it's constituted, but it hasn't gone far enough. As I mentioned, by using the word transition from fossil fuels in energy, it leaves a wide lacuna for the fossil industries to keep on doing what they're doing and give it different names. The agreement also talks about certain technologies that are not proven and that may be risky. For example, carbon capture and storage. This is in use, and the carbon removals. This again gives room for extraction of more fossil fuels because carbon dioxide removal can be used also to push out more fuel from oil wells. So that is that. But I think one of the major achievements of the COP is the agreement to triple renewable energy capacity, within a few years. That is very commendable. But in all this, again, it's left to nations to put into practice what they've agreed. Well, the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change has this intergovernmental panel that keeps a check on how things are going in terms of climate change, temperature increase, and all the other indices. And of course, in the next 2 years, every nation would have to report back to COP. That would be at COP 30. They will report back to say how far they've implemented what they've agreed to do. And so it may not be real strict policing, because this is a voluntary thing. There's nothing really legally binding. If you don't do this, we're going to put you in jail. But I believe that every politician, every leader has a moral responsibility to put some of these things, to put these key things into practice. And for Nigeria, I think this is very significant, because knowing that the world is going to shift away, transit away from fossil fuels, it should also tell us that we have to redefine the areas we're going to invest in. Because if we keep on putting all our energy in fossil fuel extraction, damaging our environment, we're going to find out that most countries, the rich countries, will stop producing internal combustion engines, for example, because they're about energy, the transportation. This is going to be serious. And then Africa may become the cemetery for such old technologies. So I think it is incentive for everybody to step in the right direction and do what needs to be done.
Green Angle returns in just a moment. Stay with us. Still talking about the climate summit, but this time in Lagos, Nigeria, where the special advisor on climate change and circular economy gives insights on the government's plans towards promoting a greener future.
Bearing that there is that big awareness right now on a global level for the knowledgeability of climate change, the Governor Babajide Olusola Sanwo-Olu then decided that we should have a dedicated office for climate change and circular economy that will be like a focal point. It will be like a rallying point to optimize and complement the outputs of the various ministries and agencies. There are various initiatives and projects that are being run from different quarters. But we must not forget that Lagos State it's a very multi-diverse and multi-ethnic and really largely populated city. We have 20 million. So sometimes when you run initiatives of the sort of scale that is being done, it may feel like a drop in the ocean, but that is not to say. So our work right now, not only to optimize the operations of all of the various outputs that have been thrown out there, but also to be able to drive the level of advocacy and education that can help people to be able to harness and harvest information that they get. You know, sometimes when you're throwing out an initiative or you're driving a policy, if the people or the citizenry do not even understand the rationale or the effect of it or the impact of it on themselves, it's difficult to apply. It's difficult to take in and then rationalize and then be able to build your own interpretation out of it. So one of the things that we want to do as our mandate is to ensure that we're able to optimize by creating the sort of narratives to make the message of climate change relatable, make it, simple for them, help them to understand how it affects our livelihood. If you talk about transportation, what is the government doing in transportation? Our intermodal transport model is in place. Technology is being leveraged, through the system. with regards to climate change, that blue rail as one of the products of our transportation ministry is a huge indicator for our vision for carbon neutrality, right? And that goes beyond what Lagos State alone is doing. It's on a national level, right? And that same blue rail addresses optimum efficiency in the life of the average citizenry. My top priority is to teach the basic intrinsic impacts of climate change. Top priority is to make stories, create stories that are relatable, create scenarios, drive the knowledge of climate-friendly actions, through our lifestyle, through the choices that we make, and helping people to understand that as little as sharing your car, involving in the practice of carpooling during this period has a contribution towards climate change. Being mindful of a single use of plastic, be more mindful, be more purposeful, be more deliberate about, using things like your flask. If you have to use a bottle, look at ways that it can be reused, be very, very mindful about how you dispose of your waste. So all of those things, we need to start being a bit more understanding. We must be aware of what that is about. How do we go about it? And that's why I said that education is really, really top of the mind for us, starting from now, because people need to understand what is the basis, what is the reason. If we have a lot more waste that is clean, it is easy to sort. The plan is to start with that advocacy. We're on a campaign show right now to get the word out as much as possible, to say every little thing that you do has a resultant effect on the climate. And when it comes to the climate, there's an impact of it on each and every one of us. So we must be mindful about our actions. We must be mindful about our decisions towards the climate, towards Mother Earth, towards the planet, because it's just that one planet that we have. We have to be very intentional about it. One of the things that I have taken away as a special advisor is for us to foster and promote as much education and advocacy as possible within our polity. It's very, very important that we need to bridge the gap on a tripartite. Government has to be involved with the people, and the people have to be involved with businesses, just as government has to be involved with the businesses. We want to be able to provide that quality of life for the citizenry, as well as provide the ease of doing business with the business people. So it's not just the responsibility of the government alone. There are institutions that should be involved. There are academia, there are, people that are in big clusters, convergences that are within the populace also have a responsibility, whilst the business, the private sector also carry the responsibility to be able to drive the initiatives in the area of funding, in the area of helping us to optimize. We can't run initiatives without funding. And if you know the model of work with Governor Babajide Olusola Sanwo-Olu, you would see that he has a track record of establishing PPP projects, because we understand that government alone cannot fund those high capital intensive projects that is needed if we want to make it impactful. plastic is a real big issue, and we want to be able to establish an ecosystem where repurposing of plastic, recycling of plastic, reuse of plastic can be part of the vision. Our vision of 50-50 within the Office of Climate Change is to effectively drive a reduction of 50% in our carbon emission, right? And this we want to do before the end of within the next 5 years. And then the other 50 is to be able to ensure or to drive and establish job creation for at least 50,000 people. So if we look at the circularity of Lagos, right, we can see that having efficiently tackled the area of plastic and waste management, there are availabilities within the value chain where job creation opportunities will arise.
And that's about it on this week's edition of Green Angle. Until I come your way next time, remember, together we can build a sustainable world. I am Esther Mokwariola. Bye for now.